You're now watching Wayback Wednesday, sponsored by Flora's Glass and Mirror Company, servicing the area since 1977 with residential and commercial work.
And good evening, friends. Welcome to another episode of Wayback Wednesday. I'm your host, Randy Adcox. Good of you to join us tonight. As is usually the case, tonight's show kind of came together at the last moment, and based on a couple of conversations I had earlier this week, coupled with some comments from some viewers from last week's show, we put together a series of pictures we're going to share with you a little bit later on. But today is Wednesday, November the 4th, the day after the election. Thank goodness that's behind us, at least for the most part. We still got some lingering strings hanging out there we've got to get resolved, and I'm sure that'll all come into place. But maybe at least the multitude of mailings in the mail and the unsolicited text messages and emails and I'm so glad to have all this stuff behind us. Like I said, the election itself is still carrying on and probably will for another few days, but at least things should settle down a little bit anyway. So if you're like me and glad to have all that behind you, welcome to the club. I mentioned had a couple of folks. I've had some conversations with a couple of people this week, and I realize that not everybody watches this show every week, and so we're going to show you some pictures tonight. Some of you have seen before, some you may not have seen before, and we're going to be revisiting a couple of topics that we have covered in the past in some prior shows. One, the Tuscarora Indians. There's a great deal of history in and around Rocky Mountains in the Twin Counties, Nash and Edgecombe counties, and certainly before any of the quote-unquote white man history developed here, there was a strong presence of the Tuscarora Indians, and they predated us by several hundred years at least. And I say us, I mean the people who settled here and eventually came to develop Rocky Mountain in this Twin County area. But in any case, we're going to show you some pictures of some old Rocky Mount buildings and some old businesses and so forth. We're going to talk a little bit about the Tuscarora Indians, and we're going to visit something that's dear and near to my heart, the old Stonewall Manor. For many of you that are familiar with that, you may know there's an effort ongoing right now, in fact, to renovate Stonewall, or as it was known as I was a child, the old Lewis home. And they had a goal of raising, I think, $40,000. They're way short of that, so if you've got a couple extra bucks you can spare, I know they'd love to have a donation, and we'll show you later on in the show tonight how to go about get a donation to them. But they're doing wonderful work over there, trying to preserve one of Rocky Mountain, Nash County's grand old homes, and to, as you might imagine, to repair, renovate, whatever, a home that's literally 200 years old or almost 200 years old takes a lot of money. And so I tip my hat to those that are members of the Stonewall Manor organization who have undertaken the gargantuan task of keeping that home up. I'm not sure whether it's decorated now. I know every year at Christmas time they do decorate Stonewall, and so with the renovations going on, it may not be decorated. I'm not sure. I've not talked to anyone. I did get some pictures that seem to appear that they may be old pictures too. I'm not sure if they're recent pictures, but they do appear to have some Christmas decorations in the pictures that I've got to show with you tonight. So with that being said, this first group of pictures, I actually stumbled across a idea that someone else had shared about getting pictures of, you can do this with anything, but if you go into Google on the internet and type in the phrase image : and then a topic, it could be image : old cars, for example, and Google will bring back a whole slew of old car pictures. You can type in image : old buildings, and it'll bring back a slew of old buildings. And you can zero it in, and you can do a geographic region, a city, or whatever. So I did that today, in fact. I just typed in image : history and then I put in Rocky Mount just to see what I would come up with. And so it brought back about a dozen pictures that I thought were interesting of this area, eastern North Carolina particularly, Rocky Mount, Nash, Edgecombe counties. So we'll start off with these, and like I say, some of these pictures I have seen before. I'm sure some of you will have seen them too, but not everyone may have. So if you've already seen some of these, bear with us. I think the likelihood you'll see something you have not seen before. So with that being said, Lee, let's take off with our first picture here. And this is actually, this picture was from 1952 was the caption. Of course, it's the old Center Theater. And if you remember, if you watch the show regularly, we've seen several pictures of the Center Theater over the years. The movie headline here, the reason I knew it was 1952, I actually did a search on that movie, and the movie came out in 1952. And if you zoom in, I think it's, can you zoom in a little bit, Lee? I forgot now, I just went blank trying to remember the name of that movie. But I did go on the internet and do a search for the movie title that was playing, and found out that the movie came out in 1952. So anyway, this picture is from 1952, it's the Center Theater, and it's just, I've seen this exact picture before. There you go. It is Bawana Devil. That's the name of the movie, and it was your classic B film, low budget, not a lot of big name stars in the film, but in any case, it came out in 1952 in the Center Theater, had it on playing during the time this picture was taken here. So, all right, Lee. Let's go to the next picture then. This next picture is also one that I remember seeing before, but it was in this grouping of history pictures of Rocky Mount. And of course, you may remember Buddy's Used Cars down on South Church Street, on the corner of Henry Street and South Church Street. A couple things about this picture that kind of made me smile. Number one, with the cars there in the background. We got a call. Let's get this call. Hello there, you on the air?
All right, the picture you just showed of the Center Theater.
Yeah.
That place opened in June of 1936, and I used to know a lady that had the program. She was not married at the time, but she was somebody that she later married was there when that dedication took place at the grand opening of the Center Theater. And it's a shame that building got taken down.
It sure is. I have a lot of fond memories of that building myself. I used to go to Saturday morning matinees, and when I was in high school, we would go do the Friday night horror movies, and that was always a good time too. So, yep, I agree with you. I hate to see that it's gone.
All right.
Okay, buddy. Thank you. Okay. All right. Buddy's Used Cars, like I said, South Church Street down there. I used to work, when I was in high school, I worked, shortly after high school, I worked for Davis & Company Auto Parts, and that was just a little bit north on the opposite side of the road of Buddy's Used Cars. And Buddy and his people who worked for him, mechanics and so forth, would quite often come over to Davis & Company and buy parts for their cars. But anyway, notice the street marker there. This was, of course, before we went to the green street markers mounted on the sign. And these concrete markers that were painted with the name of the street and the block number on all four corners were, of course, all over Rocky Mount. They've since been taken down all over the city, and so I would imagine they're probably in storage somewhere, but then again, they may not be. They could have been broken up and turned into gravel, for all I know. But something you don't see anymore, a little step back in history. This picture was dated 1962, and like I said, a step back in time here to an older part of Rocky Mountain history. Okay, Lee, let's go to the next picture then. This one here is another one that I personally remember. Some of you will, I'm sure. It's a great picture, the contrast. It's obviously a night picture. The People's Bank building on Main Street in Rocky Mount. Lincoln Epstein's in the background back there. But this was, they had the clock, if you remember, the corner of the building, the word People's, and the clock beneath it down there. That if I remember correctly, had a clock facing on both the Tarver Street side and the Main Street side, so you could see what time it was coming from either direction. And there was a restaurant there beside it. And Lee, I tell you what, let's go to the next picture, because there you go. This is this is actually another picture. I forgot about this one too. This is on the east side of Main Street, and this is from, of course, 1960s. This picture was captured anyway. There's the Carolina School of Commerce there, the old Rocky Mountain Municipal Building, the taller building there. and there's a florist on the very far right-hand side of the screen. A lot of this is, of course, not here anymore. The municipal building's long gone, and a lot of this whole part of downtown Rocky Mount has changed greatly over the years. But I remember these, a lot of these buildings as a child. I remember going down, particularly at Christmas time. That was, a big thing for us as kids to go shopping downtown Rocky Mount at Christmas time, and won't be long. We'll be right in that season. In fact, if you go with Smith's Red and White, you think it's Christmas right now. That place is all decorated up for Christmas. In fact, I noticed Jimmy Womble was out there this morning and yesterday morning painting his Christmas murals on the front of the Smith's Red and White grocery store. So if you get a chance to ride out there and have a glance, you'll be glad you did. And say hi to Jimmy. He's working hard trying to get the place all decorated up out there. But like I said, going downtown Rocky Mount at Christmas and do Christmas shopping was a great fun thing for me to do as a child. Prior to Tarrytown Mall opening up, if you wanted to shop in Rocky Mount, this is where you went, downtown Rocky Mount. And sadly, when the mall opened up, a lot of downtown businesses moved out toward the mall and western parts of Rocky Mount, and that began a gradual but sure decay of downtown Rocky Mount that sadly has lasted to current times. But anyway, this was dated 1960s, and I think, Lee, we've got another picture. Let's go to the next one here. There you go. And this is a little bit different angle, same general area. This is actually looking south from a more northerly position. If you notice on the far right-hand side of your screen is one of those, and I forget, it's a name for them, little towers that the railroad guys would sit in. Maybe someone can call in and tell us. I just went blank. I know they've got a designated name for those things. But anyway, they were still one or two down there on Main Street then, adjacent to the railroad track. This picture here is one I'm not sure. It looks very familiar to me. Now, there are similar pictures that I have seen before, but again, this was just dated East Main Street, circa 1960s. So certainly another bygone era. Okay, Lee, let's go then to the next picture. And this picture is one I can't say I remembered. The New Pommy, that's P-O-M-I, the New Pommy Inn. And this was actually, I think if you look down the bottom right-hand corner, Lee, can you zoom in on that? I want to say it was on the corner of Church Street and Main Street, maybe. Not Church and Main, I'm sorry. We've got a call. Let's get this call here. Hi, you're on the air.
All right, you're looking at a very good picture of the old Pommy Inn.
Yeah.
It's set on the corner of South Church Street and where Raleigh Road used to cross as a grade crossing before the overpass was ever built.
Okay.
That building had to be taken down to build the overpass. The overpass in Rocky Mount opened in 1958, and that name, Pommy Inn, came from the two families that were involved in it. The P.O. stood for Powers, and the M.I. stood for Miller. George Sexton Miller, who was a few years younger than me, his grandparents were involved in it, and it was a boarding house and hotel, and it came down in the 50s. There's not ever been many pictures of that place.
I don't remember seeing this particular picture here. Do you?
You're not old enough because it no longer existed when you came out of the womb.
I agree with you there. No, what I was saying was I don't remember seeing this particular picture before.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it was, there was all kinds of boarding houses and places where people getting off the choo-choo near the train station could find something to eat and spend the night and whatever. They were all up and down Church Street. Mm-hmm. That was a very prominent place until the decision got made to build an overpass over the railroad tracks, and at that point in time brought about its demise.
So that left-hand side of the building with the word Inn, I-N-N on it sticking out the front, was that part that faced Church Street?
That is correct.
Okay.
It's set on the west side of Church Street, and when if you came into Rocky Mount on Raleigh Street, from coming from Zebulon. You would come to the side of that place right there, and you would, if you were on 95, NC 95, you would have to take a left to go north on Church Street to follow 95 out to where the Marita Bakery was later built.
Right.
It was built to, and that's the pathway of that highway, NC 55. And that road was on the same street, run on the same roadway with US 301.
Gotcha. Okay.
It's a good picture.
I thought so too. Okay, buddy. Thank you.
All right.
Have a good night. Okay. So anyway, this, as Eric was just saying, this building had to be torn down when they put the overpass there from Raleigh Street, crossing over Church Street over toward, Arlington Street over that way. And so anyway, the building's been long gone, and he's right. I do not remember this building. This was before my time. So anyway, all right, Lee, let's go to the next picture then. And this next picture is one that I do remember. We've actually shared this picture on the show before. This was the old Joyner and Rowland business down on the corner of Southeast Main and Hill Street. It was later occupied by Whaley Furniture, and they sold hardware, farm supplies, including furniture, stoves, buggy whips, and horse collars. And this building is still down there. I think this building was not captioned, but I have seen this picture before on another site that has a bunch of old pictures, and I think it was dated somewhere around the 1920s. Don't quote me on that, I could be wrong, but I seem to recall seeing a reference to this picture from the 1920s. So anyway, okay, so I'll tell you what, Lee, let's go ahead then to the next picture. And this next one is actually, this was the Rocky Mount Central Fire Station. It was built in 1907 as part of a municipal complex. The station saw the adjoining buildings serving a number of functions ranging from from pound offices to a fish market. The complex was demolished in 1964 after Station 1 relocated to 101 South George Street. Prior to the Main Street location, the fire department was housed at number 21 Sunset Avenue beginning about 1906. So this is a picture that I do not recall. I've seen a lot of pictures of old Rocky Mount post offices from the past, and I just misspoke. Actually, the bottom picture was cut off. I had printed off a sheet on this. It said that prior to the Main Street location, the fire department was housed at 21 Sunset Avenue beginning about 1896. So not 1906, but 1896 was when the main firehouse was located on Sunset Avenue back in the late 1800s. So anyway, I'll tell you what, Lee, bring it back to me. I think this is a good spot for us to take our first commercial break. Folks, we're gonna, when we come back, we're gonna talk a little bit about some Tuscarora Indians. If you remember from a previous show, we covered them before, but we had a caller who last week suggested we take a look at the Tuscarora Indians and the Tuscarora War, and so did a little more research, and so we're going to cover that in a few minutes and take your calls. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with more Wayback Wednesday.
You're now watching Wayback Wednesday, sponsored by Flora's Glass and Mirror Company, servicing the area since 1977 with residential and commercial work.
Does sorting through Medicare make you feel like this? Don't worry. Be happy. For any of your Medicare questions, just a simple call to your local team of licensed, customer-friendly agents can get you from here to there. Imagine getting the most out of your Medicare. Call 833-232-8880.
Hello, my name is Gus Tullis of Gus Tullis Insurance, and I've been helping people with their insurance needs for well over 20 years. If you're turning 65 or you're currently on Medicare, I can help you make the best decision for the Medicare plan that will suit your needs. Don't wait. Call me today. I'll answer any question you have. 252-937-6913. Looking forward to hearing from you.
I'm Daniel Moss, owner of Cornerstone Funeral Home, and I'd like to invite you and your family to give our family an opportunity to serve you in your time of need. And we offer a full line of funeral services, everything from visitations to graveside services to cremations on site with a live crematory, as well as a banquet hall to meet the catering needs of our families that we serve. We offer catering service. We offer refreshments prior to visitations and services of our family, and we want to invite you to come and experience the difference here at Cornerstone Funeral Home.
When faced with special care needs for elderly or disabled loved ones, families want compassionate, comforting care. That's Tender Touch Home Care Services' goal, providing the level of care we would expect for our own. With over 10 years of home care excellence, Tender Touch provides an array of services that keeps your loved one at home. From personal care, light housekeeping, errands, and meal preparation, to our private duty care program, which combines all of our home care offerings in one package.
Tender Touch Home Care Services, where your needs are our concern.
We're in our 18th year of practice at the Hammer Chiropractic Center, and we've seen over 15,000 different people in the Rocky Mount area. 40% of headaches actually come from a neck problem. Many patients come in taking multiple aspirin, over-the-counter medications and such a day, and we can get you to stop doing that and actually fix the problem so the headaches don't rise anymore. A lot of people think chiropractic hurts. It does not. Most of the people come in and they feel great when they leave.
You're now watching Wayback Wednesday, sponsored by Flora's Glass and Mirror Company, servicing the area since 1977 with residential and commercial work.
And we're back. Folks, if you're just tuning in, you're watching Wayback Wednesday. I'm Randy Adcox. Glad to have you with us. Before the break, we were talking about some old pictures of Rocky Mount, and we're revisiting some that we've seen and shown before and in prior shows. But as I said at the top of the show, I realize not everybody has an opportunity to see every show. We've got some folks who watch on cable TV, some who watch over the internet, and sadly, sometimes the internet especially is not as stable, and so sometimes we go back over these pictures just for those who may not have had a chance to see them before. So with that being said, I think the last picture we showed was actually of the old fire station. And we've got about, I didn't realize till after I went to the break, there's about 3 or 4 more in this grouping before we get into the Tuscarora Indians. And we'll spend a little time there when we get to them. But Lee, let's jump back in. The next picture here is actually one from the early 1900s also, and it's of Southeast Main Street. So this is one I had seen before. Okay, there's the firehouse there from, there you go. This one here is one I have seen before, but again, it was dated it just said early 1900s, actually did not have a date on it. And you can see, look like from this picture, the roads are still dirt. I don't think they've been paved yet. Look like some shadows being cast there from utility poles maybe. But obviously this is early 1900s, South Main Street in Rocky Mount. And so anyway, let's go ahead, Lee. I think there's a couple more in this grouping here. Here you go. This is the west side of Main Street looking south. And a good bunch of this right here is gone now. I'm not sure how many, if any of these buildings are still standing. Hey, we got a call. Let's get this call. Hello there, you on the air?
Hey, buddy, how you doing tonight?
Hey, Harold, good. How you doing?
Fine. I just wanted to comment on that city fire department that you showed previously.
Yeah.
At the end of what I call the end of the
first segment.
Epstein group.
Oh,
The municipal building and that fire station were basically together. So in this picture you're showing now, that high structure down at the far end where the sun is setting or rising, maybe it's rising, that's part of that tower that you see in the fire station.
Okay.
So, I think it had a bell in it.
It looks like it did, yep.
Trained and did their work for many years.
Mm-hmm.
Did you say it was built in '06?
Actually, it was built in 1896. Well, I'm sorry. It says prior to the Main Street location, the fire department was housed at 21 Sunset Avenue, beginning about 1896. This building was built in 1907. This firehouse, I mean.
Okay.
So now this
They
picture.
served the municipality of Rocky Mount for many years there at that location. And you showed the very first picture you showed tonight. You could see that tower in the far background the way you can in this one that you're showing now.
Lee, let's back up a couple pictures and get back to that fire. There you go. There's the firehouse picture right there.
Okay, that's it.
Right. And so you're saying...
All right, the tall municipal building would just be to the right of that cutoff.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay. So, yeah, it was all... and I guess the police department would have been somewhere along in there, too, would it not?
The police department actually operated out of the back side of that large municipal building, which was Washington Street.
That's right. That's right.
Headquarters around there. And there was an ABC store, I believe, on that same street in those days, which I often wondered about the ABC store being on the same block with the police station, but maybe they could keep an eye on the guys.
That was convenient, wasn't it?
Just want to make a comment about the tower there.
Okay, buddy. Appreciate you here.
Thank you.
Have a good night. Okay. Yeah, I'd forgotten about the police department being on the back side of the municipal building there. Sure was. Okay. All right, Lee, I'll tell you what then. Let's go on to our next picture, which I believe is the West Main Street. I think we were just looking, before we went backward, I think we were looking at the Southeast Main Street from the name. Okay, here we go. This one here should be the West Main Street. And this one was, well, the one after this one, Lee, go to the next picture. Oh, yeah, okay. That's West Main Street right there. And this is the one that was actually taken, or was captioned anyway, as being circa 1930s. So, okay. So now you can go ahead and lead to the next picture. I think there's only one or two more in this group. Okay, yeah, this one right here. This was the 100 block of Tarboro Street, and again, it was captioned as being circa 1930s. So if I'm thinking right, if I'm getting my bearings right here, I think we're looking west toward Main Street, down Tarboro Street. And so this building on the right here, I believe, is there on the corner at 5 Points. It's been undergoing some renovations itself here of late. I think they're putting apartments or something up on the second floor of that building, if it's the same building that I'm thinking it is. Looks like maybe Daniel's Shoe Store there, just to the left of that building is obviously two spaces there, the one on the right-hand side, and there's a Conyers, looks like I guess it's a clothing store there. And so anyway, this picture was dated circa 1930s, the 100 block of Tarboro Street. So, okay, Lee. This next picture is one that it was in this same grouping. It was not Rocky Mount, but it's one of the few pictures that I'd ever found or run across of John Sustair Ford in Nashville. And I'm sure a lot of you remember John Sustair Ford in Nashville. Some of the younger viewers may not. But it says this photo was originally published in the Nashville Graphic several times in 1954. The photo ran in an advertisement for John Sustair, advertising these four men as four expert body specialists trained by Ford, Fisher Body Company, and Chrysler Corporation. Call us at 459-7101 if you know their names. Now, I'm not sure whose phone number that is at 459-7101. It's obviously not John Sustair Ford anymore. But in any case, this picture was apparently published several times in the Nashville Graphic back in the early 1950s. The picture itself, I'm not sure if it was taken in 1954 or if it was just published several times. But that's a picture that I had not seen before and did not remember seeing any pictures of John Sustair Ford prior to running across this one today. Okay. Lee, bring it back to me a minute. That was the end of that grouping of those pictures there. As I mentioned at the top of the show, we had a caller last week that mentioned and requested us to take a look at the Tuscarora Indians in this area. And as I said at the top of the show, we've actually covered the Tuscarora Indians in this area before on a prior show, but I certainly am happy to go back and do it again because, frankly, doing a little bit of research for this segment of the show tonight, I came across a couple things I didn't know, or at least I had forgotten. If I knew them before, I'd forgotten them. But as I said earlier, there was certainly a well-established Tuscarora Indian settlement in and around the Tar River area, down by the falls, in fact. Some of you may remember when they put the 64 bypass through down by Battle Park down there several years ago. They actually stopped construction on the bypass and brought a group of college kids in, I think from East Carolina, and did an archaeological survey down there. They found a bunch of artifacts, arrowheads, pottery, and so forth. And so, yes, there was a very large settlement of Tuscarora Indians. And I've got a little history here. There's several pages of this, and I'm not going to try to read it all, but I just kind of want to give you an idea about some of the history of the Tuscarora Indians that you may or may not be aware of. This was an article that was actually submitted as part of a research project, and I thought it was interesting. It kind of, it was in a website about the Rocky Mountain Mills. And so I'll read some of it and we'll go from there. It says, surrounding by the Tar River and the Great Falls, the land where Rocky Mountain Mills was built was first home to Native Americans. Water sources near the future site of the mill provided necessary resources to sustain life on the banks, and recent archaeological salvage excavations have uncovered material evidence for native settlement for thousands of years. These excavations have led to the hypothesis of a Tuscarora Indian origin for the periods of most intense occupation. Historians have often stated that after the land changed hands from the Tuscarora to European colonists after the Tuscarora War, which lasted from 1711 to 1713, and actually I've seen references that it went beyond 1713 too. Actually, I've seen some as late as 1715, so there's a little bit of discrepancy about how long the Tuscarora War actually lasted. It says the Tuscarora moved away, died, or were enslaved. However, the Tuscarora presence has persisted after the war, and there were even Native American employees at Rocky Mountain Mills, though their tribal affiliations are unknown. So who were the Tuscarora? The answer can be confusing. There is disagreement over whether the Tuscarora made up a single nation with multiple villages and smaller settlements, or separate nations in a confederacy. There is a Tuscarora nation, a single tribe close culturally and linguistically to the Iroquois, who were indigenous to North Carolina but migrated to New York and Pennsylvania in the 19th century. The Tuscarora Nation had originally consisted of 6 towns before Columbus set foot on American soil, and included 1,200 warriors and between 5,000 and 6,000 tribal members that lived in the Roanoke, Neuse, Tar, and Pamlico river systems. However, other nations went under the names Tuscarora. The Coreys, Mattamuskeets, Nottaways, and Bear River Indians were such tribes. Elias Johnson, a Tuscarora chief and author of the History of the Nation, could not recall the other two. Under this confederation, there were 12 Tuscarora towns. The Tuscarora were once one of the most powerful eastern North Carolina Indian nations. So that's a little bit of history about the Tuscarora themselves. We talked a little bit about the war, and the caller last week, in fact, referenced the war. And basically what happened was, as the European settlers came in and started settling on the coastal portions of North Carolina, they slowly migrated inland. And as they did so, they encroached upon these Indian settlements and, frankly, began to take advantage of the Indians. The Indians were getting tired of being pushed and pushed and pushed further and further, and tensions escalated. And it says the cases and exact events during the war differ depending on who is telling the story. The Tuscarora accounts contrast with the white colonial account, which has long prevailed in traditional historical narrative of the war. According to according to Tuscarora oral tradition, their ancestors had enough of settlers kidnapping, raping, and assaulting women and children, enslaving their people, settling onto their land, and hunting on their land. However, there was disagreement among the Tuscarora over how to proceed and address the issues with the settlers. There were 3 divisions which were influenced by the town's proximity to the Swiss and Palatine settlement at New Bern, founded by Baron Don Greffenried. And it goes on to say that around 1711 there was a killing of some settlers. and that, of course, enraged a bunch of people on both sides. Things progressed from there and got worse. The massacre ended up killing several hundred Tuscarora Indians. They attacked in revenge. It says there were men, women, and children were killed. Slaves were killed. Livestock were killed. In retaliation, North Carolina requested assistance from South Carolina, and they joined forces and attacked the Indians. So it was a bloody, and like I said, depending on which historical accounts you read, it could last anywhere from 2 to 4 years. I have not yet uncovered any instance or any documented battles specifically addressing Tuscarora Indians in this immediate area. Not saying it didn't happen, but I read through several historical accounts of the Tuscarora War, and they all seem to have been down at different parts, down around Snow Hill, also up in Bertie County, or I should say down in Bertie County. But there were certainly a Tuscarora War. Lots of people were killed on both sides, and sadly, the Tuscarora people themselves have kind of, over the years, blended into society. They've merged in with other tribes, and so there's not a lot of real accurate historical information now. As this article pointed out, depending on who you talk to, there are surviving elders, if you will, from the Tuscarora people who have got their own interpretation passed down from generation to generation of what happened during that war and who was at fault. But as I said, the official historical narrative was, of course, written by the European settlers, and so that's what history has picked up, and that's what's taught in schools, and that's what we hear most about. And as you might imagine, that's about a little bit of a one-sided story, so take that with a grain of sand. Obviously, there's no pictures of Tuscarora Indians. There's no pictures of anything related to Tuscarora, except a few artifacts that have been uncovered. So with that, Lee, let's get back to our pictures, because I do have some pictures that I found while researching this segment of the show, and I thought they were interesting for a couple of reasons. The Tuscarora actually lived in little huts that they made out of limbs and branches. They covered them with tree bark, and this is a reproduction. There are several people. In fact, there's a local gentleman, and his name escapes me right now, but he's done quite a bit of research. Has got a vast knowledge about Tuscarora, and specifically the Tuscarora in this immediate area. And periodically, he leads a group of people down at Battle Park. He's got a nonprofit organization, in fact, called Friends of Battle Park. And he's a naturalist by self-admission, but he's very much into native ways of surviving, if you will. And I had the privilege here several months ago of attending one of his classes down at there. I say class, it's more like a nature hike, actually. But he stops along the way and points out, edible plants and so forth. Shows you how the Indians made fire, how they made structures, and this type of structure right here. This is obviously a duplication of something like the Tuscarora would have made back in their day. And keep in mind, the Tuscarora was a fairly spread out group of people. It was not just right here in this area. They were between the Roanoke River and the Chowan River and Tar River. And so they covered quite a bit of territory, and so they all lived their own unique lifestyle, though there were some similarities between the different tribes and different groups. That being said, let's go to the next picture. Like I say, these are both pictures of recently built Tuscarora huts. And again, you see this, the basic frame was just lashed together saplings and small trees that could be easily bent and positioned into a general shape of a hut. And then they would strip the bark off of trees and fasten that bark to the frame they built, and in such a way as the water would run off of it, and they'd build a fire inside of it, I guess, and stay relatively warm in the wintertime. Certainly there was no insulation there, so it was only marginally better than being out in the open, but in the absence of anything resembling a warm home, this was actually better than nothing. So this was Tuscarora, what was called the Longhouse, actually. And outside of Snow Hill, there's a excavation took place several years ago at a place called Nuhuruka. And this next picture, Lee, you can go ahead and go to that if you like. This next picture actually shows that, and it's not a very good quality picture, I apologize, but again, this was a group of college kids that were sent down to excavate this site, and there was a lot of history there. And of course, they, after several hundred years, about all you find is a few shards of pottery and maybe some arrowheads if you're lucky. But this was a Tuscarora stronghold, and it was the site of a decisive battle of the Tuscarora War. It took place March 20 through 23rd of 1713, when 950 Tuscarora Indians were killed or captured. And so this was, again, in fact, go ahead and lead to the next picture. There's a historical marker that was put up there outside this area. There you go. And I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. Nuhuruka was the location of where this battle was. And as I said earlier, I don't mean to imply that there was not any fighting of Native people and Europeans here in the Nash Edgecombe County area around Rocky Mount. I just couldn't find any evidence of it. There were multiple battles between Tuscarora Indians and Europeans, and it's entirely possible that some of those battles took place around here, but if there were, I've not found any documentation to back that up. So, okay, Lee, I'll tell you what, I think there may be one or two more in this grouping. Go ahead to the next picture if you would. And I think, there you go, this was actually found, I have some fond memories as a small child. My grandparents lived on Spring Street. You probably remember hearing me say this 100 times over the years. But my grandfather had a fairly impressive collection of arrowheads that he had found in his garden after plowing the same garden for, 30 years or better. And I don't know what happened to his collection, but I remember distinctly seeing arrowheads like this, and this was something that was found around this area, and it was, a Tuscarora arrowhead. And I think the next picture is actually believed to be a Tuscarora spearhead. You can go ahead and show that if you would, Lee. And these were, there you go. The technique for making these is referred to as knapping, and it's actually take a piece of stone and a piece of wood or another stone and kind of chip away the edges with one stone against the other or one piece of wood against the stone. And you can actually, you can go online and there are classes you can take, instructional videos, thank you, to learn how to do knapping, flint knapping and so forth. And so you got to be careful if you're going out buying this kind of stuff, because there's some people who've developed a very good skill at knapping, and they make arrowheads and spearheads that look just like ones that are literally 1,000 years old. And I've seen them made out of literally bottles of the bottoms of drink bottles, for example. People take and break the bottom out of a clear bottle, and they'll knap an arrowhead out of that. So again, it's a craft, it's a skill, it's something that can be learned, and there are people who are doing it to this day. Most are doing it on the up and up just to teach others how to do it. But anyway, all right, Lee, I think we're getting just about to the end. There might be one more in this segment. If this is the Indian Woods, there you go. At the end of the Tuscarora War, and again, this road marker here suggests that it ended in 1713, though I have seen documents that suggest it went on a few years after that. But there was a reservation set up, and it was a fairly large reservation down in Bertie County, and this was a road marker marking that location. And I'd like to go down there one day and take a look to see what else is still there. I'm not sure how many native Tuscarora still live down there, but anyway, Lee, I'll tell you what, I almost forgot. Bring it back to me. I about blew past our second commercial break for the night. I got carried away talking about the Tuscarora Indians. Folks, we've got a few more pictures I want to show you when we come back from the break of Stonewall Manor and some of the renovations going on there. So if you need a break or get something to drink or to snack on, go do that. But don't go anywhere. Come on back. We've got some more pictures to show you. We'll be right back with more Wayback Wednesday.
Sponsored by Flora's Glass and Mirror Company. Servicing the area since 1977 with residential and commercial work.
Does sorting through Medicare make you feel like this? Don't worry. Be happy. For any of your Medicare questions, just a simple call to your local team of licensed, customer-friendly agents can get you from here to there. Imagine getting the most out of your Medicare. Call 833-232-8880.
Well, it's that time of year again. Open enrollment for health insurance now through December the 15th. I'm Gus Tullis, and we can help you navigate the affordable healthcare marketplace. There is no service fee, and all plans provide free preventative care. We can help you understand all the options in the marketplace and assist you with enrollment in the plan that works best for you and your family. You can save on costly medical services by enrolling in the Affordable Care Act plan today. Call Gus Tullis Insurance at 937-6913 and get covered today.
I'm Daniel Moss, owner of Cornerstone Funeral Home, and I'd like to invite you and your family to give our family an opportunity to serve you in your time of need. And we offer a full line of funeral services, everything from visitations to graveside services to cremations on site with a live crematory, as well as a banquet hall to meet the catering needs of our families that we serve. We offer catering service. We offer refreshments prior to visitations and services of our family. And we want to invite you to come and experience the difference here at Cornerstone Funeral Home.
When faced with special care needs for elderly or disabled loved ones, families want compassionate, comforting care. That's Tender Touch Home Care Services' goal, providing the level of care we would expect for our own. With over 10 years of home care excellence, Tender Touch provides an array of services that keeps your loved one at home. From personal care, light housekeeping, errands, and meal preparation, to our private duty care program, which combines all of our home care offerings in one package.
Tender Touch Home Care Services, where your needs are our concern.
We're in our 18th year of practice at the Hammer Chiropractic Center, and we've seen over 15,000 different people in the Rocky Mount area. 40% of headaches actually come from a neck problem. Many patients come in taking multiple aspirin, over-the-counter medications and such a day, and we can get you to stop doing that and actually fix the problem so the headaches don't rise anymore. A lot of people think chiropractic hurts. It does not. Most of the people come in and they feel great when they leave.
You're now watching Wayback Wednesday, sponsored by Flora's Glass and Mirror Company, servicing the area since 1977 with residential and commercial work.
And we're back. Folks, we're getting to the end of the show here, but we've got some pictures I wanted to share with you tonight. You know, at the top of the show I mentioned that there's some renovations ongoing now at Stonewall Manor. And you know, that home was built in like 1825 to 1830, somewhere along in there. So it's approaching 200 years old. It's been a lot of history passed through those walls of that house. I've said before, I've actually had family members who used to live there years ago. And they tell me I went to a Christmas party there when I was a baby. I don't remember it, but in any case, that's what they tell me. But as the case with most homes, Stonewall Manor does require upkeep and maintenance and repairs periodically. And as you might imagine, on a home that old, built the way that home is built especially, those repairs can get quite expensive. And so thank goodness there are people like the good folks who are in charge of upkeeping Stonewall and making sure that it gets renovated and repaired as needed. But they really need some help. I mean, they've got a massive undertaking there that's really expensive. And so if you've got a few bucks you can spare, I'm going to show you a link here in a minute you can go to. You can also call them and donate money to the cause if you'd like to see Stonewall be completed. The repairs are ongoing as we speak. I'm not sure. I think they've had some stuff donated, some materials perhaps, and maybe even some labor. But still, there's an awful need there, a large need, and there's a lot of work got to be done. So with that being said, Let's jump into this last segment, Lee, of pictures. These are all of Stonewall, either outside or inside, but just kind of give you an idea of what they're up against. And this first picture is actually from the 1930s, is what the caption was, Stonewall Manor from 1930s. I forgot this picture. This was the actual, I forgot this one altogether. This was the Indian Woods Reservation. Forgot I had this picture actually. But anyway, this is down in Bertie County, outside of Snow Hill down there. And as you can see, it's a right good stretch of land down there they had set aside for the Tuscarora Indian Woods Reservation. So, okay. Sorry about that. All right, Lee, now let's go to Stonewall. There you go. This picture, as I said, was captioned as Stonewall Manor, circa 1930s. Now, back in the 1930s, they didn't call this home Stonewall. I've heard it called a few different things. When I was a kid, we referred to it as the old Lewis home. But in any case, like I said, it dates back to the early 1800s. And it's, been a grand home. It's certainly on the state's historical list of historic homes and so forth. And it'd be a shame for this home to one day meet a wrecking ball. So I hope they can continue to provide the upkeep and maintenance as necessary. And so hopefully the work that's going on now will continue, and hopefully they'll get it all finished. So, all right, Lee, let's go to the next picture then. And this is also Stonewall Manor. This is actually a postcard that I found, and the top of the picture got cut off here, but on this postcard it refers to this home as the old Lewis home. And so, and it was dated the 1940s. So, like I said, by the time I came along in the late 50s, early 60s, we were referring to it as the old Lewis home. So I'm not sure when it picked up the moniker of being the old Lewis home, but and I seem to recall here or reading a story. In fact, let's see here. I've got a little information I'll share with you. It says Stonewall takes its name from the heavy granite wall that borders the front lawn along US 64 bypass. Let's see, the Bunn family, that's what I was trying to remember earlier. Bennett Bunn built the house about 1830, according to this document. I think it was actually started in around 1825 or so. But anyway, it said his earliest ancestor was David Bunn, who came to Edgecombe County from Naceman County in 1752. By the time of the Revolution, the Bunn family was a significant segment of the growing planter class in northeastern North Carolina. Born in the late 18th century, Bennett Bunn became one of the largest and most prosperous of the group. His earliest major acquisition was Quarter Plantation, which he inherited from his uncle Redmond Bunn in 1809. In 1814, Bennett Bunn inherited land from his father Benjamin Bunn on Stony Creek and Tar River. On this land, Stonewall was later built. During the next 15 years, Bennett Bunn's agricultural enterprises continued to grow. By 1830, he was one of the wealthiest planters in Nash County. The visible symbol of his affluence was Stonewall Manor. So Stonewall's scale and sophistication of design make it truly one of the elegant plantation houses in North Carolina. After Bennett Bunn's death in 1849, Stonewall, with its 126 acres, was purchased by another planter and was then passed through the hands of several others before the abolition of slavery in 1868, which brought the plantation to a final turning point. Most of the farmland was sold to pay for the debts of the latest landowner. Its role as a focal point of the vast plantation was therefore effectively ended. It wasn't until 1916, when the property was purchased by Rocky Mountain Mills for a measly $15,000, that renovations to this historical landmark began. In 1975, the Nash County Historical Association, a nonprofit organization dedicated to preserving and interpreting the history of Stonewall Manor, acquired a 30-year lease on Stonewall, which has since been extended. So there is an effort, as I said, underway to preserve it, to repair it, to keep it so that it can be viewed by future generations, and I'd like to see those efforts continue going forward. All right, Lee, let's go to, there's about 4 or 5 more pictures in this group, and so we'll go ahead and get through those. And there you go. This is a more modern picture that was actually I found this in a listing of things to do in North Carolina, and this was a fairly recent picture, obviously. And so, again, this is a more updated, more recent picture of Stonewall. Okay. I think there's 3 or 4 more leads. You can just go ahead and go through these. We're getting just about to the end of our segment here tonight. This was here you go, one of the pictures I took today. I didn't take it, I found it online, of some of the renovations going on, as you can see above the front porch of the house. They've got some guys out there working. I'm not sure who this gentleman here is. He was actually doing a little, I guess you would say, an overview of the work that was being done. And I got this picture off the Facebook webpage. And okay, Lee, go ahead. Let's just go ahead and go through. There's only about 3 or 4 more left in this grouping. There's another angle of some more of the work being done on the front. And you can go ahead, Lee, to the next one. And as I said, there's a fundraiser underway. That's some more of the work being done up at the top of the front of the house. By the way, this is technically the back of the house. The front of this house faces the opposite way. A lot of folks don't realize that, but when they built this house, it was actually facing Stony Creek, and this grand entrance that we see today is actually the back part of Stonewall Manor, so I've been told anyway. All right, Lee, let's go ahead then. I think the next picture might be the flyer or the notice about the renovation, the fundraiser, I'm sorry. There you go. As you can see, they set a goal of $40,000, and I've actually seen the estimates for the work to be done, and it was $40,000 worth of work to be done. And I'm not sure how old this is, but it was, at this point, it raised $915 of a $40,000 goal. So as you can see, they need your help. And Lee, I think the next picture, well, you know what, I think I forgot to put the other picture in. These are all inside. There's only 3 pictures of 3 or 4 of the inside of the house. They've done a remarkable job of restoring this home on the inside and outside to its period appearance. In other words, the way it was in the early 1800s. I was in the house several years ago. I've not been back recently. But if you get a chance to go out and visit, certainly after the renovations are done, I don't think you can get in there now. But it's worth the whatever minimal charge they have to get in. They have open house periodically out there. All right, Lee, go ahead. I think there's only 2 more in this grouping. Go ahead and go through those if you would. And these are just different. You can see they've got some decorations. Here you go. This looks to me could be Christmas decorations, and this could be an older picture too. I'm not sure if it's decorated up now with the renovations that are ongoing out there. But I think that's the last one, Lee. Bring it back to me. Folks, that's going to do it for us tonight. Thank you so much for tuning in. And there you go. There's one last picture of the inside of Stonewall there. And like I said, I thought I had a picture of the actual link to and the phone number. I'll try to get, oh, here you go. I've got the number. I thought I had it. If you want to jot this number down, you can call 252-200-4284. Again, local, it's 252-200-4284. And you can actually email them. They've got an email address, info@stonewallmanornc.com. But they could sure use some financial assistance, and if you can get a few bucks their way, I'm sure they'd appreciate it. Folks, that's going to do it for us tonight. We've run slam out of time. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight. Thank you for your calls and your input and your feedback, and thank you for watching. We always appreciate the viewership, and it's been my pleasure to be with you tonight, and look forward to seeing you next week. Have yourselves a great week, folks. Take care of yourselves and be kind to each other. We'll see you next week with more Wayback Wednesday. Good night.
Flora's Glass and Mirror Company, servicing the area since 1977 with residential and commercial work.